Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fan Appreciation Marathon here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, we are closing out this week-long stretch, well, 5-day stretch of all new reaction and reviews with a movie I've wanted to watch for over a decade because it's from one of my all-time favorite directors and it's one of only 2 films of his I still haven't seen. And that director is Ralph Bakshi. The movie is 1981's American Pop. Now, I'm not sure if you guys can read this on the cover there. I'm not sure how well the camera picks it up. But it says there, the state of the art in living animation. I got to watch the trailer for this for the first time yesterday. And apparently what they mean when they say the state of the art in living animation is the whole thing is rotoscoped. I will go into rotoscoping later if I absolutely have. Well, no, why not? I'll cover it right now. Rotoscoping is when you take film of actors and then you trace over it in order to get the movements for your characters. Bakshi has done that many times in his films, and in certain cases it was done to a fault. The very fact that this thing here is all but screaming that the whole thing is fucking rotoscoped makes me almost cringe, but Bakshi's also been able to do some fantastic things with rotoscoping when he's not royally fucking it up. So I don't really know if this is going to be any good. The only way to find out is if I shut the fuck up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out American Pop. You guys can hear the kid's voice singing in the background there, right? You can kind of hear it. Really sucks. I totally understand that they mentioned earlier that he is going through puberty, his voice is changing. Oh, here we go. That is awful. I understand that it is meant to sound terrible, but still, that is terrible even by intentionally terrible standards. That is saying something. You know, guys, I was never really expecting a gangland-style shootout in this movie. I don't know why. I totally understood that at this point in the movie, we were set in the 1920s, and fucking, you know, like, gangsters were everywhere. Still, was not expecting a massive shootout. And also a mob hit. Interesting. Alright guys, I just saw a shot in this film which proves one thing. If you are going to rotoscope footage, for the love of God, please do not use footage that was shot with a fisheye lens. It looks incredibly ugly and horrible, but then again that's because, well, anything that is shot with a fisheye lens looks absolutely shitty. But when you fucking rotoscope it, it looks even worse. Just thought I'd mention that. Wow. I've never heard somebody make fucking dish washing sound so epic and fantastic. That was actually kind of funny. Well, guys, I mentioned this at the very start. I said that this movie could possibly have the greatest soundtrack ever, and I just want to tell you, so far, yeah. Every song in this movie, from start up till this point, has been fantastic. You can tell. I'm loving every second of this movie's soundtrack. Story's had a couple of issues, but I'll cover those when it's done. But the soundtrack is fucking stellar, dude. Alright, I totally understand that he is supposed to look sort of cool, you know, while he's selling his drugs, but really? He really is looking a little bit more like a douchebag. I just want to say that right now. Yeah, just sitting there, like, spinning around, like, you know, like, strutting about. He really is coming off as, like, the world's biggest douche. Wow, that is something I really wasn't expecting somebody to start, like, strutting around like a fucking, like, douchey, you know, prick. But hey, I got that, so I guess that's something. Well, guys, that was American Pop, and I was kind of wondering exactly when in the hell Skinner was going to pop up since they are mentioned on the DVD cover. Well, apparently Skinner just used in the closing credits, which is awesome. Let me shut that off. I don't really want anyone to, try to get this thing taken down because I'm playing too much fucking Skinner. That could very well happen. Anyway, while I'm on the subject of music, I guess I should cover one thing because the DVD cover, both sides, greatly lists off a lot of the acts which are in the movie, which are featured in the movie musically. We're talking things like Benatar, Joplin, Hendrix, The Doors, Mamas and the Papas, Skinner, so on and so forth. And I will say right now that all of that is just in the last third of the movie. So really, if you think it's going to be wall to wall psychedelic rock and 70s rock for 90 minutes, you are in to be greatly disappointed. Because, well, the movie starts off at the fucking turn of the 20th century. It'd be very weird for them to be trying to slip in, like Janis Joplin over footage of World War One. It wouldn't really work. While I'm on this subject, why don't we talk about the writing? The story here is fantastic. Because it follows four generations of one family. It starts when a mother and her young son they immigrate to the U.S. from Russia. The mother dies very early, so we're following the son. Then we follow his son and his son, and then his bastard son at the very end. It just keeps following. It's always father onto the son as the story goes on. All four generations have got their hand in music in one way, shape, or form. And because of that, we get to watch in the film as both the music in the U.S. Evolves from its early stages at the start of the 20th century all the way up to around 1980, because the movie came out in 81, so they probably were only able to get up to stuff from 1980. So we get to see that, but also because we're following four different generations, we also get to see the country evolve. We get to see how, at least in New York, because a lot of the movie is in New York, we get to see as buildings become dirty and they become like vandalized, and you get to see exactly how much New York has changed from, say, like the 1910s all the way up to the late 70s. You get to see that, and it's spectacular. And as for the story itself, as we're following these four generations, every single character is fantastic. They all have a lot of depth. They all have a lot of character to them. Secondary characters work out this also. There is no wasted character. Now, I mentioned at one point that the final fucking generation, Pete, he is a drug dealer, and you see him as he is making his rounds, and he's strutting around like a fucking douchebag. When he finally talks, at least as a fucking adult when he finally talks, he also talks like a massive douche also. I just want to make that much clear. If there's any character here who is just not likable, it's him. And thank fuck you don't have to deal with him for too long, at least when he's a fucking adult and he's slinging, drugs. Because if it focused entirely on him, I would probably have shut it off after fucking 20 minutes. That is how irritating he is. But anyway, beyond that one character, everybody else is great. Every other character is fantastically written and fantastically acted. Now, while I'm on the subject, why don't I cover acting? As I stated at the start, this movie is 100% rotoscoped. Well, I can't really say it's 100% rotoscoped. There actually are a couple of more, like stylistic looking characters, but all of them are static. Or they are used in transitions. So they really aren't even part of the story proper. But anyone who actually has an on-camera speaking role is a rotoscoped actor. I'm going to assume that they also recorded the the dialogue when they were doing it, because it all sounds like there's this massive echo, because of course you're filming on a small set and the echo is going to bounce off everything. But anyway, beyond that though, the acting is really good. Again, minus our douchebag character at the very end, there really wasn't a bad there was not a bad performance anywhere in this movie. It was all very, very well done, and I can really say that if there's anything beyond the soundtrack, and I will cover the soundtrack in just a second, that shines, it is the acting. The acting is spectacular. Now, I guess I should talk about the animation, because again, we're talking about a work that is almost totally rotoscoped, and there are a couple of minor issues. There are 2 or 3 shots where the footage was undercranked, which basically means that it's filming at fewer frames per second. So that means that characters are moving at an almost ridiculously fast pace. Which okay, it would totally work stylistically and it would look great if the previous shot with the same characters in the same location wasn't filmed at regular speed. It then makes those few undercranked bits look absolutely out of place and terrible. And then there's the fisheye lens. I mentioned it earlier. I'm going to mention it again. I don't like any use of a fisheye lens. I've always thought it looks absolutely gaudy and fucking stupid as hell. And when you're trying to animate something that was filmed using a fisheye lens, for those of you who don't know, a fisheye lens is a lens that causes everything to basically flare out. Basically, you have like the center, and then it all kind of sort of like bubbles out. It looks absolutely hideous. A really good example is Busta Rhymes used to use like fisheye lenses almost exclusively in his fucking music videos, and that's why the damn things were almost unfucking watchably shit. Anyway, now I want you to imagine somebody having to trace an actor who's shot with a fisheye lens. You now see why rotoscoping and fisheye lenses don't fucking work. I kind of thought that maybe it would just be like a one-time use. No. It's done multiple times. It's done at least 4 or 5 times, and every time it looks horrible. We have, at one point, this actor who's standing in for Jimi Hendrix, and it's supposed to be Jimi Hendrix playing, and it's shot with a fisheye lens, and it makes Jimi Hendrix look basically as if he stepped out of a funhouse mirror, and it looks terrible. It was not a good choice to use fucking fisheye lenses in this thing for anything. So beyond the couple of minor issues involving fucking like film speed and fisheye lenses, everything else is great. Also another issue when it comes to rotoscoping is occasionally, like for a single frame, a character's like coat will vanish because the artist missed it, or the paint, or the fucking paint or maybe like the paint team missed it, but all of a sudden you'll just see like a coat like vanish. It'll just sort of like flicker away for a single frame. It looks really, really weird. But again, that happens when you are rotoscoping and you're probably in a bit of a hurry. However, out of all the uses of rotoscoping I've seen, this seriously is one of the better uses of it, because it does sort of help. It does help inject a lot more life into these characters because of how well the rest of the animation is done. So even though I'm harping on a couple of little fucking like technical things, animation-wise, this movie is spectacularly done, and it really is almost a shining example of how to do rotoscoping right. Which is funny, because Bakshi's adaptation of the fucking Lord of the Rings is a textbook example of how to do rotoscoping wrong. So yeah, he sort of hit both fucking extremes, and I believe that this was his follow-up to the Lord of the Rings. I find that to be really kind of funny. Anyway, soundtrack. Why don't we cover music? Because once more, you follow music's evolution in the U.S. So we have everything from big band music and swing music, and you have all of that starting off, you have just classic music, and it sounds awesome. Then it works its way into psychedelic rock, and I'm not a big fan of psychedelic rock, but I am able to tolerate it. And this right here uses some of the best psychedelic rock you can find. And then it gets into the 80s, or gets into the 70s, and then that right there is when it just takes off, and it is beyond fantastic. So guys, the soundtrack here, if they ever put the soundtrack out, I'm not sure if they ever did, I would totally fucking buy it. It would probably have to be on like 2 or 3 discs because there's that much music here. But really, there's only like 1 or 2 songs in there that kind of sucked. And again, that's because I'm not a fan of psychedelic rock. So there was maybe like 1 or 2 pieces I just was not a big fan of. But yeah, every other song in this thing is absolutely fantastic, especially if you have a nice broad taste in music, as in, you're really into everything from swing and big band to 70s and 60s rock. If you have that kind of taste, then this film soundtrack is going to blow you away. Now, beyond that, am I able to recommend American Pop? Yes, we have here a fantastic story, and it looks great, again, minus the few technical problems. The acting here is stellar. The soundtrack is fantastic. Guys, I can highly recommend this, and I feel kind of sad because years and years ago, I was at one of my local shops that sells used DVDs, and at the time VHS, they had a copy of this thing on VHS for $3, and I passed it up. Motherfuck, I missed out, man. I really missed out. This movie is great, and I'm happy that I finally have a copy, and it's going to have a nice happy spot on my shelf until I find out if this thing ever came out on Blu-ray. I just might buy it on Blu-ray. I really did enjoy this movie. Now, American Pop came off of the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in is named Taylor, and Taylor's YouTube channel is, and I actually have it written down here, just give me a minute. Taylor's YouTube channel is DeSoto Right. So just head over to youtube.com/user/DeSoto Right. Check out everything which is over there. I'm not totally sure what Taylor has over there. I'm not even sure if Taylor is a man or a woman. I'm really sorry I didn't do my research before jumping in. But Taylor, thank you. After waiting years to finally get around to watching this, you gave me that chance, and it did not disappoint. This movie was awesome. Top to bottom, head to tails, awesome. And I thank you for that. So yeah, guys, head on over there to Taylor's channel. I am going to provide a link in this video's description for it. Swing over there, check it out, and if you like what you see, go right ahead and sub. As for me, oh man, all of a sudden now I'm really digging the music which is in here. I'm probably gonna have to go and look up the soundtrack and download the songs I don't have yet. So, and with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.